This is our year, our year. This is our year, our year. This is our year, that's clear, no fear. Our year, our year, our year. This is our year, our year. This is our year, our year. This is our year, that's clear, no fear.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of Season 2 of The Webb Show. As you already know, I'm your host, Webby Pumpkin, and I'm super excited. Please let me start off by wishing every single one of you a very, very happy new year. 2021 has to be better than the last one. And personally, I really believe that 2021 has the potential to be the restorative type of year that we need to both move on and hopefully grow from the struggles that we experienced in 2020. It's super exciting. Today we're going to be discussing some things that I've begun applying to my life that I believe can help us realign our attention towards the things that ultimately further our aspirations. Now, it's a lot of big words, a lot of crazy stuff. I promise we're going to get a little kind of nitty gritty and thick tonight, but I promise I'll try to break it down as simply as possible. Before we do that, though, I have to give credit where credit is due to another streamer here on Twitch, TheVoiceOfNick. I found his podcast. Check it out. It's called Twitch Playbook. If you want to check it out, you can listen to that wherever wherever podcasts are listened to, wherever you enjoy yours. For me, it was Spotify where I found them. But I got the idea from listening to a couple valuable points that he made from things that he's learned just being a Twitch streamer and just trying to reevaluate himself. And I'll be honest, it's coming from a perspective, here's the disclaimer, it's coming from a perspective of content creator, most especially geared towards streaming. But that being said, I really do believe that it could be helpful for anyone. So let me jump in there. One of the biggest things that I've noticed in 2020 was that I never would respond to Discord chats that you guys would send me very well. Like, I was always late. I was never responding to tweets. I just couldn't keep up. And then with my regular 9 to 5 job that really turns out to be more sometimes like an 8 to 10 job, it feels like just so much stuff going on. I just really couldn't keep up. So I decided to kind of reevaluate things, and I discovered that one of the biggest wastes of our time is the tasks that we think are important but are doled out in inefficient ways. So for example, in the workforce, being called into endless meetings might look really good on paper to a supervisor. It looks like you're staying busy, you're making the most of your time, but in all reality, it usually ends up being a huge waste of time for the worker. Another example is that, did you know that roughly 28% of the average office workday is spent reading emails? That's completely asinine. That's 2.6 hours wasted. And to top it off, most of those emails could have been avoided and more easily remedied with just a simple phone call. It's crazy. It's these types of small tasks that not only zap your time, but it kills your efficiency, your productivity, and ultimately the capacity that you have for excellence. And it's not just one thing either, but dozens of small little things that just add up through the day that kill the ability of you to accomplish what you've set out to do. It's the proverbial death by 1,000 cuts that we've heard of before. Okay, so obviously that happens at work, that happens at school. You guys are used to that, but at least we can get away from it when we get home, right, Webby? Well, unfortunately, no, that's not actually how things tend to work. Our spirit is being chipped away at in a very similar manner. We have an internet-connected age that we live in where we can find out anything we want to at literally just the press of a button. We don't even have to press the button anymore. We can ask artificial intelligent devices like Siri, hopefully mine doesn't go off, or Alexa or whoever, and there's the knowledge. We didn't even have to touch anything. It's all there. But there is a downside, and that is that we not only see the content that we want to see, but the content that we sometimes by accident have signed up for. How many of you have noticed that each time you look at your phone, there are more notifications and badges than you could ever possibly go through, and you just sit your phone down and you're like, I'll find time and I'll clear them out later. And then every few minutes, something else causes your pockets to vibrate. Notifications from group chats, social media posts, content that we're subscribed to, or even just apps that are giving us a notification to remind us that they're installed on our phones and we haven't opened them in a while. What in the world? We're getting notifications that are telling us that apps still exist, and we're flocking to them like we're on the wild, wild west, just like, oh, my phone, I got to get this stuff, and it's exhausting, and it's draining our attention. We get caught up in the minutia, basically, and forget to unsubscribe from those emails, even though the button's right there. and we justify it because we know that it's happening to everyone else too. Friends, it's not good. It's a mucky cloud of activity, and it's one of the largest detriments to the average person's life's goals. But we can do something about it. After listening to The Voice of Nick, like I was talking about, I was inspired to do something a little bit different. I've often wanted to maybe delete certain social media apps or certain things like that really took away from my time, but I didn't feel like I could do it because of streaming or because of work or because of family that I wanted to stay connected to. I just didn't feel like I could disconnect, but it turns out there may be another option. Let me tell you a story. I'm going to read this one, so forgive me for seeming a little bit different in my inflection. Did you know that in the 1890s, Russian scientist Ivan Pavlov was conducting research into the responses of various dogs being fed? During his experiment, he noticed something pretty interesting, though. The dogs would salivate whenever they saw food, which made sense, but they would also salivate whenever they heard the footsteps of the technician that typically brought their food. Well, Pavlov didn't understand why footsteps would cause a dog to be hungry, so he tried to go a little bit further and see if it made a difference. Over the next few weeks, whenever the researchers would feed the dogs, they would also ring a bell before they gave the dog their food. The dogs were only fed after hearing this sound, so it became something that the dogs got used to. Over time, the researchers discovered that the dogs would also salivate each time the bell rang, even when food was no longer presented. So it's ring, ring, ring. Oh, there's no food. But the dogs were still like, where's my food? And they became hungry, essentially. They would salivate because they had this expectation. They were trained to know that this bell means food. This famous experiment became known as the concept of the Pavlovian response. And it honestly typically has a pretty negative connotation. But we can use this information to change our lives in a positive way. So the term is normally used to describe any action that becomes unconsciously connected with another seemingly unrelated action in our heads. The biggest Pavlovian response that we have here in 2020 and 2021, you guessed it, is the vibration or the ring of our cell phone. Go figure. Crazy stuff, right? Statistically speaking, in most cases, the reason that we rush to open up that new notification on our phone really isn't even worth it. It's usually nothing more than a single like on that Instagram post or a reaction on Facebook. I found that altering that in my life really made a difference, and I didn't even have to delete anything. Let me tell you what I did, and this was based on the Voice of Nick's recommendation. I looked through my phone's notifications and like in the actual settings of the notifications, and I thought, oh my gosh, well, what can I do? Well, let me turn basically everything off in an attempt to encourage better habits. Maybe I can do better. I can train this. And this is what happened. I disabled notifications for almost every app on my phone. And in other cases, I left badges turned on, but I removed the sound and vibration part of the notification. So now that each time I hear my phone alert me, or I feel my phone alert me, I know I'm going to be looking at something that's actually important or pushing me towards goals that I'm looking to accomplish. It turns out that it really doesn't even matter that much, honestly. It didn't really make a difference in my life. It didn't make a difference in how active I was or the content that I was able to consume from apps like TikTok or Twitter or Facebook or even, honestly, Twitch. If I just looked at all those in batches rather than getting a notification and blustering my fingers at how quickly I would grab my phone to look at that one like that I got on Twitter. It really didn't make a difference if I looked at 10 likes every couple hours or if I looked at one like every few minutes. Didn't make a difference at all. But what it, at least in the way that I consume content that I'm wanting to partake of, it didn't really make a difference. But where it did make a difference is I've seen an incredible freedom and the clarity of mind that I have already. I started doing this the last week of December. Already I'm finding that I'm more goal-oriented and I'm more task-efficient with the things that I'm wanting, because the only notifications that I'm actually getting are notifications for streamers that I want to support on Twitch, or calendar notifications about meetings or recordings or different things that I have scheduled throughout my day that I need to accomplish in order to accomplish the goals that I really have, the long-term goals that I have for myself with both streaming, with work, with the family time that I'm trying to implement into my schedule so that I can really make the most of this 24-hour day that I'm asleep most of. It feels like, anyway. I waste so much time sleeping, and I've been blaming that on sleeping, but really it's on time that's being wasted and my attention being pulled in a bunch of different directions that really don't amount to a whole lot. Well, after seeing this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is super great. What can Webby Pumpkin do to take that a step further, to do even more? And so what I did was I was able to get all of the applications on my phone. I have an iPhone 10. All the applications on my phone down to just 2 pages. If I hadn't, I used the stream time and usage sections inside of my settings to see just how frequently I was using some apps. And if it was an app that I hadn't used in 6 months or longer, I deleted it. I no longer need that because clearly it's just taking up space and it's cluttering my view and it's cluttering my attention from the things that really potentially matter. The other thing I did was on the flip side is I started paying attention with the screen time section to what apps I was completely just pouring my attention into. I love you, TikTok, but boy, oh boy, did I have an addiction to you. So I used a feature in screen time that allows you to set limits on certain apps, and I gave myself essentially a 2-hour per day social media limit. That's Facebook, that's Twitter, that's TikTok. That's all. 2 hours is all I have, and I'm not talking 2 hours per app. I'm talking cumulatively, I can be on social media for 2 hours. Well, I work in social media, and there's really things that I need to post and do to try to help further the aspirations that I have for Webby Pumpkin. The sound is on. To further the sounds and the aspirations that I have for Webby Pumpkin. So I'm sorry if you guys heard the fireworks there. Those sounds are supposed to be off. You might not have heard them. It might just have been me, but those sounds aren't supposed to be coming through for the podcast. All right. So I lost my train of thought with that. Sorry, guys. I was able to get rid of those things, and I need to post to Instagram or Twitter or these things to further my aspirations for Webby Pumpkin. So what I found myself doing is self-governing the amount of time that I put into other apps, because I know if I spend all of my 2 hours on TikTok, then I don't have any time to do the things that I really needed to do on Facebook or Twitter or Twitch. I mean, Twitch is not technically social media on my phone, but maybe for you it is, and it's helping me so much to align my life, if you will, so that every time that I look at my phone, every time that I do something or I see the notification, it's actually helping me, and it's not just silly, crazy stuff. And I think that you guys can do that too. I think that whether it's business, whatever it is, you guys can do it too. And I hope that you do. I hope that you do. I hope that this is helpful. I hope you're able to take it and to really reshape what 2021 is going to look like for you. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I'm going to look. Hey, guys, if you're listening now, later, and you want to be a part of the conversation, what you're listening to right now happens live every Thursday at 7 p.m. on Twitch. And if you come into my chat room at twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin, you can actually get involved. So I'm about to look at some of the comments right now and see if anyone has any questions or if there's any thoughts or anything that anyone wants to add. And we'll talk about that right now on stream. So let's see. We got Clasping and Firelord and Twiggy, and everybody's here having a good time. Slick is here having a good time. Clasping's bringing me a lot of that hype for the new season. Glad you guys are here. Glad you're here. So anyway, anybody have any questions? If not, we'll go ahead and wrap up stream now. We're going to be talking about something pretty awesome next week as well, and hopefully pretty soon we'll have a couple guests. World's looking a little crazy right now, so I'm hoping that the next episode will be something else that may add some value to your life. But love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Clasping wants to know, when is season 3? Season 3 will be January 2022, which makes sense every year. So season 3 will be January 2022, Clasping. But anyway, really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Fire. Thank everyone for listening. If you're watching this later, consider dropping a follow at twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin. I would love to have you there. We stream every Monday, Tuesday, then we take a break, Thursday and Friday, playing a lot of stuff. Right now, we're playing a lot of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. It's the first time I've ever played that. So, yeah, maybe it's nostalgic for you. Really, what you're going to do is see me mess up a lot, but I could use your help. So I'd love for you to be there if you want to check that out. It's Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Hopefully not as much, but TikTok. I would love for you to find me there. You can find links to all of that wherever you're listening in the description of the podcast, or you can go to anchor.fm/thewebshow. You can see everything you want to see there. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Remember that this is our year, and I'll catch you on the next one. And if you're watching live after this, we're going to play some fun games. We'll have a really good time. So catch you in the next episode next Thursday. Thank you all so much.
This is This is This is that's clear, no fear. This is This is This is that's clear, no fear.